My name is Jessica and welcome to Makeup.misfit. Before I get into this intro, I have my water with me. It's gonna be very, very hot today. I feel like I'm a little bit dehydrated, so it's a little difficult for me to talk today. So if I'm taking breaks to sip on water, that is why. I think that was all I kind of wanted to mention. And first off, I'm gonna be filming a couple videos today, so it's gonna be a chatty one, I think. So there might be a couple of breaks, but nonetheless, this is my update for Project Level Up, which I do believe I skipped the last month, so I apologize. But I have been working on the Mikayla and Glamlite palette. This is level 2, so my goal was to hit every pan twice. Like hit 2 pans and then use every shade twice. That's what I meant to say. Like I said, it might be a little difficult for me to talk today. So, before I show you what the palette looks like, I thought that keeping track of this palette was going to be easy. I didn't write it down, I was just keeping track in my head, but I was wrong. It got a little complicated for me. So I think there's a couple of shades in here that I've only used one time, which I want to say it's these 3 right here. So I'm just going to one time this week use them one more time, maybe on the bottom lash line or something like that, just to get a second use on it. But I'm going to consider that goal met. And if you can see from there, the little shimmers, I have pan in Glow Up and Accent, which are the 2 pans that I needed to hit. So I'm pretty excited about that. Glow Up came first and then it was Accent. And I used these 2 shades the exact same way, which for a majority of the time, I believe I just use them as a single shade all over the lid. I really like to do that. I like to take a lighter to mid-tone shimmer and just throw it all over the lid as a one shade kind of look, and some liner, mascara, and I'm out the door, especially if I'm running out of time or I just want something simple and I don't really want to put a lot of effort into it. I always find that the look turns out really pretty, especially just having that little bit of shimmer on the lid. So I really enjoyed doing that. Once I hit pan in Glow Up, I wasn't sure what shade I wanted to focus on, but I figured it would probably be one of these 2. And then I just tended to gravitate towards Accent a lot more. So that's why I ended up hitting pan on that one. And I just really enjoyed using Glow Up. I was kind of surprised though, because I really did think I was going to hit pan on this shade right here. I used this blue as an inner corner a lot. So I feel like I'm not too far from hitting pan. So if I was to use it a few more times, I feel like it's not going to take me very long before the pan will show. I am going to take a break from this palette though, because technically, minus these 3 shades, but it will be met, I get to level on up to level 3. So one of the looks that I've done with this palette is the one that I'm wearing today, which is this pink matte, this coral shade, and then this yellow matte all over the lid. And then I used the corresponding shimmers on my bottom lash line. So I used the pink, I used Glow Up, and then I used this gold up here because there isn't an actual yellow shimmer, even though this one on camera looks a lot closer, but I did use this one also in the inner corner. The reason I ended up doing that one was today because the other day I did a look where I used this blue, this purple, and this mint green on the lid and my lower lash line, and I thought it looked so pretty. Unfortunately, my eyes became very tacky that day, so it all came off my lid, but it was a very pretty look. So I wanted to do it with the pink and yellow, which I really haven't done a pink and yellow look in a long time, and I used to do it all the time. I used to really enjoy those. So that's what I went with today to film. So those were just a couple of the looks, plus a lot of the neutral ones, you know how it goes. So I get to level up to level 3. Now, if you watched my intro video, I did say in there that for level 1 and 2, I was going to randomize my palette. For level 4 and 5, I was going to hand pick my palette. But for level 3, I was up in the air because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I think just because of where I'm at and other projects that I'm working on, I have panned those eyeshadows and a couple of other projects that have eyeshadows in them. I think I really want to sit down with my collection and go through it. I have a couple of palettes in mind that I want to use, but I think I'm going to hand pick my palette. Now I'm going to come back. I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to go through that. I'm going to see what I can find. I will come back with at least 1 palette. I might come back with a couple and decide on camera with you guys, but give me a couple of minutes. I will go see what I can find and I will be right back with something. Okay, so that took me a little bit of time. I do have 1 palette with me, the palette that I'm going to use. I was actually debating based off of my Panning Solitaire palette I've started round 2 and I'm using the Rose Quartz palette from Huda. So I didn't want the palette that I chose for level 3 to compete with that. So that's kind of what I based my decision off of. Now, the palettes that I had originally in mind were not even in the running anymore. So I'm not going to show you the inside of it. Well, I will, whatever. It's literally been like a week. So this is the Rose Quartz palette. I'm working on Radiate here. So I didn't want something that was going to compete with this palette, but I wanted something to go along with it. Or be the complete opposite. So what I chose was a palette that goes well with this palette. And if I only want to work on the shades that I'm focusing on at that time with this palette, I can reach for this other one to get very cohesive looks. So the palette that I decided to go with is my Chocolate Martini palette by Glamlite. So I just realized it's another Glamlite palette. So I'll show you what mine looks like. It's a little messy on the inside. I believe I dropped it when I first got it, so there's some shades. This one's broken a bit. But I do have pan in this shade already from another project. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to count this shade, but I can still use it if I want to. I'm just not going to count, well, I'll count the uses on it, maybe. Yeah, I'll count the uses on it, but since it already has pan, it's obviously not going to count towards that. But if I use it more than the 3 times or not, it's not really going to make a difference. So every shade in here, I have to use 3 times and I have to hit 3 pans. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be 3 shimmers, I'm sure, unless I end up using this shade a lot and hitting pan on it. But between these 2 palettes, so I'll just show you them side by side so you kind of understand what my thought process was a little bit. So, okay, how am I going to do this without blinding anyone? Okay, so these 2 palettes go very well together. Now this one is obviously a lot more pink. This one's a lot more like, it's got the pinky tones in it. But if I'm working on this palette and I'm only wanting to focus on the shades that I have rolled into the Panning Solitaire project, I can still reach for this palette and make very cohesive looks. Like, these go together very well. So I base my decision off of that. So at least I know I'll get a lot of use on it when I am focusing on this palette. I know that I can reach for this to finish off a look or just to create the look and only use a shade or 2 out of here and still get a lot of use on both palettes at the same time. So the Chocolate Martini palette by Glamlite is what I will be working on for level 3. I have only ever used the one shade that has pan in it, which is Vanilla Vodka. So I have not reached for any of these other shades. I'm really excited about this one right here because that's one of my favorite shades in the palette just by looking at it. And I think it's going to be a really fun palette to work with. I've been wanting to kind of work on it for a little bit, but I just never decided to pull it into anything. So now is my chance. And I'm really excited to see what this palette's going to look like in a month, but also to see what this palette's going to look like once I hit 3 more pans in it, because I'm really excited to see what those 3 are. So if you've used this palette, let me know how you like it. If you have pan in any of these shades from this palette, let me know which ones they are, because I'm really excited and curious to see what you guys have hit pan on in this one. And that is it for this update. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. I appreciate you. And I will see you guys all later. Bye.